let's go to our headlines. Number one, President Trump yesterday unveiled something called the 1776 Commission, which he established by executive order to promote patriotic education as he is selling it. Here he is explaining it.
Today, I'm also pleased to announce that I will soon sign an executive order establishing a national commission to promote patriotic education. It will be called the 1776 Commission. It will encourage our educators to teach our children about the miracle of American history and make plans to honor the 250th anniversary of our founding. Think of that, 250 years.
Now, I like the idea as we talked about yesterday. I think this actually it works with the topic of the show yesterday. Our education system, as it is currently run, churns out people who both hate and are ignorant of our country and its history and its traditions. And this is unique, by the way. This is not normal. It would be hard to come up with an example of an education system in any other country throughout history that had the goal of turning future generations against the country itself. That's how our education system operates. That's not a normal thing. Now, granted, the whole idea of having an education system in a formal sense is relatively new, but even so, ours is suicidal and self-destructive by design. And it's good that we would do anything to combat that. I'm in favor of that. With that said, 2 points. Number one, I would prefer if we called this truthful education. I think truthful education rather than patriotic education. Because the problem with what the kids are taught about America in schools, it isn't that the lessons are unpatriotic. It's that they aren't true. The idea that America is fundamentally racist, that's not an unpatriotic idea. Well, it is unpatriotic, but that's not the problem. If it was true, then I would say, yeah, kids should learn that. Kids should learn the truth in school, even if it's a difficult truth. The problem is it isn't true. So it's untruthful. So I would prefer truthful education, but patriotic education is okay too. And the second point is just keep in mind and remember, there is no initiative that can change the fact that our education system is dedicated to left-wing indoctrination. That is what it is fundamentally at its core. That's not going to change, at least not overnight. It will take generations. That's a generational change. And I know for me, when we talked about this yesterday, I got some emails from people saying, well, you know, if you abandon the education system and you're not fighting to change it, then you're part of the problem. Now, you know what? When you say fight to change it, what you're saying is you want me to send my kids in and have my kids fight to change it. No, you know, that's not my kid's job. My kid's job at the age of 7 is not to fight for changes in the education system. It is my responsibility to make sure they are educated. Not their job to change society. They're not prepared for that. They're not ready for that. So it's a generational change, but frankly, my kids are not going to be part of making that change happen. Also, by the way, Trump, I wanted to play this. He attacked critical race theory during his remarks, and the media didn't like this at all. Let's listen to this clip.
A perfect example of critical race theory was recently published by the Smithsonian Institution. This document alleged that concepts such as hard work, rational thinking, and the nuclear family and belief in God were not values that unite all Americans, but were instead aspects of whiteness. This is offensive and outrageous to Americans of every ethnicity, and it's especially harmful to children of minority backgrounds who should be uplifted, not disparaged. Teaching this horrible doctrine to our children is a form of child abuse in the truest sense of those words.
Yeah, my only problem with him calling critical race theory child abuse, and a lot of leftists were upset about that, my only problem is that he should have said that it is putrid, noxious garbage and also child abuse. But what he said is totally true as well. Unassailably true. Number two, from the Daily Wire, 33 Republican lawmakers added their names to a letter that Representative Jim Banks sent to Attorney General William Barr on Thursday, urging him to prosecute Netflix for distributing child pornography. In the latest addition to the backlash against the Netflix Cuties movie, which depicts prepubescent girls in sexually provocative situations, Banks and his colleagues condemned the streaming platform and called for them to be prosecuted. And that's what they sent the letter to Barr for. I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but it should. And I've been saying this for a long time, that standing up against filth and degeneracy, standing up against the sexualization and corruption of children, that is not only the right thing to do, but the great thing is it's also extremely popular. It's an extremely popular position. If only the Republicans had the guts to do it. And finally, it takes Republicans a while to figure things out. But after a few decades, they've figured this out. And so this is good. Number 3, Lady Gaga, in another courageous moment from a celebrity, has come out. You're not going to believe this. She has come out against white supremacy. I know. Pretty risky position for anyone to take, especially a celebrity. So this is from the Daily Wire. It says, quoting her, "I am in the process of learning and unlearning things I've been taught my whole life." Wait. I'm in the process of learning and unlearning things I've been... So first she's going to learn them, and then she's going to unlearn them. Why not just don't learn them to begin with, and then you don't have to unlearn them? I don't understand this. She says, "When you're born in this country, we all drink the poison that is white supremacy. Social justice is not just a literacy, it's a lifestyle. None of this means anything. Nothing that I just read means anything." She continues, "What do I think about posting a black square? I think everybody has a different feeling about a black square. Do I think there's such a thing as performative activism? Yes. Do I think there's been true activism that's been very important? Yes. Do I believe Black Lives Matter? Yes. Do I believe this is going to get louder? Yes. Do I believe it should? Yes. Do I ask myself questions that nobody else really cares about? Yes." The last one was from me, not her. So a lot of very courageous positions here. Just to summarize, she thinks Black Lives Matter. She's not in favor of white supremacy. And she thinks that as far as posting a black square, some people do it and some people don't. Those are her opinions. Bold. Number 4. Now here's something that's really bold. Okay, let's go to here's some real courage. The governor of Nigeria's Kaduna state has signed a law saying, and this is from the Daily Mail, by the way, saying that men convicted of rape will face surgical castration, and anyone raping a child under age 14 will face the death penalty under the new legislation. It follows public anger over a recent increase of rapes amid COVID-19 restrictions, which prompted the nation's state governors to declare a state of emergency. Says one of the officials, the drastic penalties are required to help further protect children from a serious crime. I would be absolutely in favor of that in this country. You know, I think it's sort of absurd if you're going to have capital punishment. The idea that the only thing that can earn the capital punishment is killing someone. There are crimes you can commit that are at least as bad as murdering someone, oftentimes worse. Raping a child would be one of those things. That's never going to happen here, but I would be certainly in favor of it. 5, finally, this really could have been my daily cancellation. So it was kind of a tie between this and the one that I'm going to do. So maybe this is daily cancellation 1A. And I'll tell you what you're going to witness here in this video. This video is the divide in America right now. The two people in this video represent the two sides of America. It's almost not even ideological. You have reasonable guy on one side and insane harpy on the other. Watch this.
May I ask, so I live in the neighborhood, sure. And I have come to the CVS very often. May I ask why you called the police on those two men?
CVS policy dictates that if they're shoplifters, the exit the store with merchandise unpaid for, we should get the police involved. And if the police apprehend them, we issue a barring notice. Okay. So I actually did not elect to press charges. I said, hey, look, I just want them to know they can't come in here anymore because they shoplifted, and I just need them to sign that, and I need my merchandise back. And the officers obliged, and the guy said the same thing, thank you, and they left.
It's not your merchandise, it's the store. So you know what happens when the black men or black people, and you decided to call the police on two black people that allegedly took something from the store because you're willing to uphold the policy, and they could have lost their lives.
We can agree to disagree on this because I don't work for you, And I follow my company's policies, not your policies, where I can appreciate your concerns.
So you're willing to risk someone's life for what, $30,000 a year?
There was no risk, in my opinion. Thank you. You have a great night.
What is your name?
My name is store manager.
No, what is his name?
No one's going to tell you my name when you're sitting here videotaping us so that you can try and elicit some sort of violence against me. It's not going to happen.
Elicit violence against you? You just elicited violence against 2 black men by calling the police on them.
We got to walk away. When one of them had a warrant, he could have been arrested, and the cops still let him go.
Just listen to yourself. You work with black folks. You just remember that.
Yes, you see, if somebody commits a crime and you call the police and they get hurt, probably while assaulting the cops, it's your fault for calling. That's the point that woman was trying to make. Now, this is obviously insane. If you find yourself sympathizing at all with the woman in that exchange and not with the guy who is, that guy, give that guy a raise. He's a manager for CVS. He's not paid to deal with this. But this guy, incredibly reasonable, articulate, and explains, patient as well, way more patient than I would be. This guy deserves a massive raise. But if you watch that exchange and you find yourself at all sympathizing with the woman, then you need to reevaluate your whole life. But that's the side you're on, and you're there's a very clear dividing line here. It is good guy, bad guy, and you see in that exchange there's a very clear good guy, bad guy. But there's something more insidious going on here. It is the first thing that came to mind when I watched this. Because keep in mind that in some of these high-profile police shootings, the one in Lancaster, for example, Kenosha with Jacob Blake, another example, and others as well, very often it's a woman. It wasn't the case here, but very often it's a woman who calls the cops because she's being threatened or abused by a man. So then the person in this video, and this is what you hear from Black Lives Matter and Antifa as well, this is a common attitude. But what is she saying? She's saying, apparently, if you're a woman being abused by a man, don't call the cops. But if he gets himself shot when the cops come, because he's a violent lunatic, then it's going to be your fault. I mean, how many women who are faced with the next Jacob Blake will hesitate to call the cops? Because they know, based on their experience with this man, that he's a violent lunatic. And if the cops come, then he might get himself shot. And so the woman's going to worry, well, if that happens, my life's going to be over too, because everyone's going to blame me, like this crazy woman, and people like her are going to blame me. So that's something that I really worry about. But again, there's the dividing line in America. Just decide whose side are you on. Thank you for tuning into the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative media outlets in the entire country. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and a subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our content.